indeed Allah will bring out a man from amongst my nation, meaning from the hellfire, or He will bring him, and in front of all of the creation on Yawm al-Qiyamah, and He will spread open for him 99 scrolls. So this man will come, and when he's brought on Yawm al-Qiyamah, he will be put in front of all the people, and opened out will be 99 scrolls. Every scroll is as far as you can see, as the vision of a person can see, to the distance. And then it will be said, it will be said, "Atunkiru min hadha shay'an." Do you deny anything from this? So all of what he sees in his scrolls, it will be said to him, do you deny anything from this? And it will be said to him, أَظَلَمَكَ كَتَبَتِيَ الْحَافِظُونَ. Did my writers, my scribes who wrote, those preserving scribes who wrote, were they unjust to you in any way? So meaning, that look at your scrolls and look into them, and did the angels who wrote down, did they wrong you in anything? Did they write something in here which shouldn't be in here? Did they did they put a sin that you didn't commit in there? Did they wrong you? So he will be asked these questions by Allah Azza wa Jal, by his Lord. فَيَقُولُ لَا يَا رَبَّ. So he will say, no, my Lord. He will find that he has not been dealt with unjustly. فَيَقُولُ. So then Allah Azza wa Jal will say, أَفَلَكَ عُذُرْ. Do you then have any excuse? Have you got any excuse? فَيَقُولُ لَا يَا رَبَّ. So the man will say, no, my Lord, oh my Lord. فَيَقُولُ بَلَا إِنَّ لَكَ عِنْدَنَا حَسَنَةٌ وَإِنَّهُ لَا ظُلْمَ عَلَيْكَ الْيَوْمِ. So then Allah Azza wa Jal, He will say, rather, you have with us a good deed, and indeed there will be no oppression against you today. فيخرج بطاقة فيها أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. So then he will bring out, or it will be brought out, a bitaqa, meaning a scroll, a small, like a card, a small scroll. And within it is, I testify that none has a right to be worshipped except Allah, and that Muhammad is his servant and his messenger. And then it will be said, bring forth your uhdur waznak, bring your weight, bring the scales and bring the weight. So this man will then say, oh my Lord, because now he knows it's going to be weighed. The 99 scrolls and this one small little, bitaqa, this small scroll. The scales will be brought, and so the man is looking and he will say, oh my Lord, ما هذه البطاقة مع هذه السجلات. He will say, what is this small scroll compared to these, huge scrolls? And then Allah will say, فَإِنَّكَ لَا تُظْلَمْ. He will say to him, you will not be wronged. So then the sijillat, the scrolls will be placed in a kiffa in one side, and the bitaqa will be placed in the other side. And then what will happen is that the scrolls of sin will fly up like this. They will fly up like this. And the scroll with the bitaqa, which is the kalima, it will become heavy and go down like this. And then it will be said, وَلَا يَثْقُلُ مَعَ اسْمِ اللَّهِ شَيْءٍ. That nothing is heavier than, it will be heavier compared or next to the name of Allah. Next to the name of Allah. So this is brought by Ahmad and Tirmidhi. Shaykh Al-Bani declared this hadith to be authentic. And once more we see again the greatness of the statement, La ilaha illallah. And there are numerous benefits we take from this text. So from those benefits is first of all that we see that actions will be weighed on Yawm al-Qiyamah. This is from our belief. We believe that the scales which will be set upon Yawm al-Qiyamah, they will be able to weigh the deeds of a person, the scrolls of a person, and the person himself. And so the scholars, when they discuss this issue of the scales, they say, will there only be one scale? Are there many scales? What will be weighed? Is it just the scrolls? And so the scholars explain that there are numerous scales, and the scrolls of a person will be weighed, and the deeds of a person will be weighed, and a person himself will be weighed as well. And as for the deeds of a person, these are things that we cannot understand. We cannot fathom how can a deed of a person be weighed. This is something from the unseen, but we believe it to be true and real. Because these affairs are from the affairs of the unseen, and Allah Azza wa Jal, His creation, we don't really fathom all of His creation. Like, for example, the hadith that we just looked at, the barzakh. The barzakh is, so we have the dunya, what we see, observe and witness. So we have the akhirah, which is present, but we cannot see it. The akhirah, the Jannah, hellfire, they both exist, and we can't see them. And we don't know the reality of how they are like. Likewise, there is the barzakh. Likewise, there is the world of the jinn. Likewise, there is the world of the angels. We cannot see and fathom these things. But the life of the barzakh, it exists. And within that realm, we see the dead people, the souls of the dead. And, they are either receiving bliss or they're receiving punishment. We can't fathom any of that. We can't understand any of that. But it exists side by side with the life of this world. We can't perceive it, we can't study it, we can't investigate it, we can't detect it. It's not possible. In a similar manner, there are things within Allah's, what Allah has created that will take place on Yawm al-Qiyamah, such as the weighing of good deeds. The weighing of good deeds. This is something that is true and real, and we believe in it, even if we cannot fathom it. And this is the distinction between the people of truth, the people who follow the Sunnah, and those other people like the Mu'tazila. The Mu'tazila, they are rationalists, and they believe that in order for you to accept something to be true, it has to be intelligible. It has to be rationally understood. You have to be able to understand it. Otherwise, you can't accept it. This is false. This is false, and even from worldly experience, we know it to be false. For example, if you were living 1,000 years ago or 500 years ago, and someone was to say that it's possible for you to speak to someone on the other side of the world, in that time period, that would be unfathomable. You could not fathom and rationally understand and accept that this is something that would be true and real. Right? That person would probably be accused of magic or something and whatever else. But within Allah's creation, there is within Allah's creation mechanisms by which indeed that thing can take place. And now we know in the 20th, 21st century, in fact at the end of the 19th century, the 21st, that we know that there are waves and information can be transmitted through the waves and can be received by the waves, things like this. And indeed you can speak to a person on the other side of the earth. Because there is mechanisms within Allah's creation that allow for that to take place. In a similar manner, so just because something is unintelligible and is not rational to us at this point in time does not mean that it is not true. That's why this makes it easy for us to accept these things which are mentioned in the texts, because we do not know all of Allah's creation. We do not know the amazing wonders and the surprises and the skill and the itqan, the beauty, precision, and the which still lies in Allah's creation, which we haven't discovered, which we don't know yet, and which we will never ever discover. So that is why it is totally rational and reasonable to believe in the likes of these affairs, right? So we shouldn't be become in front of those who mock and make fun, like from among the non-Muslims, and say, you people believe in fairy tales and fairy stories and this, whatever. We shouldn't feel like that in front of these people. Rather, we say, no, it is from reason itself to believe in the unseen. It is rational to believe in the unseen. In fact, every person, he must believe in the unseen, because there are things that person cannot see himself with his own physical senses, or there are things which are in Allah's creation that it is impossible for them to be perceived by the senses, like the angels or the jinn or things like that. So it is totally rational to believe in the affairs of the unseen. Right? And this is a key principle of our belief, and we oppose the Mu'tazila, those people who try to make everything that it has to be rational, it has to be understood, it has to be this. No. Where do you get this? Where do you get this from? So this is incorrect. So that's the first point, that we believe in the scales, that they are physical scales that will be able to measure the actions of the servants. Secondly, the hadith obviously mentions the angels which write the deeds of a person. We believe that the angels exist which write the deeds of every single person, and that a person will never ever be wronged whatsoever. It will be completely and totally accurate. Not an atom's weight will be missed. Not an atom's weight will be added which shouldn't be there, of good or evil, and vice versa. Right? Complete, perfect recording. Nothing missed at all. And that's why on Yawm al-Qiyamah, when it comes, every person will be astounded at the detail of the record. And Allah Azza wa Jal mentions this in Surah Al-Kahf, the 18th surah, mentioning on Yawm al-Qiyamah, وَوُضِعَ الْكِتَابِ, the book will then be placed. فَتَرَى الْمُجْرِمِينَ مُشْفِقِينَ مِمَّا فِيهِ, you will then see the criminals, they will be fearful out of what they are going to find in it, from what is in it. وَيَقُولُونَ, and they will say, يَا وَيْلَتَنَا مَا لِهَذَا الْكِتَابِ, they will say, woe be to us, what is it with this book? لا يغادر صغيرة ولا كبيرة إلا أحصاها. It is not left out a small thing or a large thing, except that it has enumerated it. وَوَجَدُوا مَا عَمِلُوا حَاضِرًا, and whatever deeds they did, they will find them present there. وَلَا يَظْلِمُ رَبُّكَ أَحَدًا, and your Lord does not wrong anyone. Surah Al-Kahf, verse number 49. Also from the benefits we take from this hadith is a mention of the adl, the justice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that He is free from any type of dhulm. وَمَا رَبُّكَ بِظَلَّامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ, we read in another ayah, your Lord is never one to be unjust to His servants. And we see that, so obviously you can see in this hadith how just Allah is, because when a servant comes, He will not wrong him in the sense that the angels which recorded his deeds will be completely accurate. He will then be presented with his own deeds and will be asked, have you been wronged? He will ask him and inquire from him, do you believe that you've been wronged? Is there anything that's wrong here? And likewise, he will not hide anything of goodness from anyone. He will bring it out. And likewise, he will also give a chance to a person to make the excuse. Do you have any other? Do you have any excuse? So look at all of this, is all from the justice of Allah Azza wa Jal. All of these things that each servant will be faced with. How can we say there's any injustice in any of this? So, also from the benefits is that Allah Azza wa Jal, He is free and removed from injustice. And we do not say, like the Mu'tazila say, that it is impossible for Allah to be unjust. Because if by definition a person cannot be unjust, then that is not really a praise of a person if he is not unjust. If you understand. Meaning that if it's impossible for a person, you can't praise a person for not being unjust if it's impossible for him to be unjust. This is one of the points that the scholars mention in refutation of the Mu'tazila. Rather, we say that if Allah wanted to be unjust to His servants, He could be. But He is not unjust to His servants. And within this is a praise for Allah Azza wa Jal. This is a praise for Allah Azza wa Jal. It's like saying, for example, if a man was, wheel-bound in a chair and disabled, and therefore he's not able to commit murder or something like this, can you praise this man for not committing murder when he's not even able to commit murder? How is that a praise? It's not a praise. It's not a praise at all. Because he doesn't have the ability to do so in the first place. Or likewise, when a man has the ability to give effect to his anger and to harm someone, but he withholds. Only now can you say this is a praise. Yes, this man, he was not unjust, he was not violent, he did not commit any wrong. This is a praise of this man. This is how it's a praise. So we differ from the Mu'tazila. The Mu'tazila say there are certain things which are impossible for Allah. It is impossible for Allah to be unjust. And again, they are using their reason and rationale, and they're not, looking at the texts. Rather, we say that if Allah wanted to be unjust, He could be unjust. But because He is Al-Adl, because He is the most just of all people, then He will never ever wrong His servants in anything. And only this is a true praise of Allah Azza wa Jalla. So this hadith establishes the perfect justice of Allah, and that He will not wrong anyone. Also the hadith establishes how Allah Azza wa Jalla loves. He loves to give His servants a chance to make an excuse. Allah loves to give His servants an excuse. And that's why we see in another text that this is why He sent the messengers. He sent the messengers in order to, so that the people don't have an excuse. The messengers He sent, so that they can't come and argue afterwards and say, well, you never sent us a messenger, you never sent us guidance, you left us without guidance. So Allah Azza wa Jal, He sends them messengers. Also from the benefits from this hadith is, the point which relates to our topic, which is the excellence of La ilaha illallah, in the sense that when it will be put on one side of the scale, all of the other 99 scales, they will fly upwards. In the case of this man, they will fly upwards, and this kalima will fall downwards because of the heaviness. And this indicates that all of the evils on one side, they were made very, very light compared to the statement La ilaha illallah. And this is because Tawheed is the greatest of all good deeds. Of all of the good deeds, which is the weightiest and the greatest? It is La ilaha illallah. So obviously it is going to weigh heavier than everything else. And again, this statement is for the one who says it and he did not contradict it by any action which involves major shirk. Right? Is the one who was free from invalidating this statement by way of major shirk and things of that nature, which impair or which invalidate a person's tawheed. I think we'll conclude with that amount for today, inshallah ta'ala, and we will continue, inshallah, in the next lesson with hadith number 23, inshallah. So we'll conclude there for this lesson. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.